Hey, it's time to go on a second to a back-to-back here. And welcome everybody in to another episode of the Rochford Files with your host, that's kind of between the coast. Coming to you live from the Mile Highland City. This is Andrew Rochford, live on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. As I felt like there was plenty of important stuff to cover, and that's why you get me on a Sega Baba, especially since I won't be here on Wednesday night. So I figured let's get an extra stream in its place, and there's a lot of important stuff to get into for tonight soon, but first off, if you're on the YouTube side of things, y'all know the drill. Please click the like button. And if you're not subscribed yet, please do click the subscribe button. Also, share wherever you can. Your social media, the Discord servers, family and friends. Click the follow button if you're on Twitch. AWCSN. Hi, Kelly. And it's nice to have both of you here and more before really getting started with the stream tonight. And also last night was another good night for early arrivals so back-to-back good nights. The team came ready to play at the start of the game. So now let's start off with Haiti and what's going on there, as the United States is going to invade and do more of their interventionist bullshit. So we'll start off here and just go through what the top stuff is on the Twitters. As you can see, what's going on in Haiti right now. And here's a good little factoid by Gritty to start us off right off the bat. Haiti is the only country to have staged a successful slave revolt. The colonizing world has been punishing them for it ever since. And you wonder why, for example, Joseph Biden is the one leading the charge in deporting Haitians. And, WCSN saying they should be great after a decade of Built Back Better? Those poor people. You know what they're actually getting? They're getting blue back better, because the United States will be sending in troops to try to rein in these people for being unruly. That's what the United States is doing with this intervention that they're undergoing right now. And blue back better means they're going to help bolster the Haitian police force in the same way that the police state here attacks the people whenever there's an uprising trying to happen. Who knows, Kelly? Who knows where the Clintons are nowadays? As there's even more of a preparation of a military intervention, and you're going to see that they're going to say that these you're seeing an argument from the State Departments of the uprising in Haiti going on right now is because they do not want the United States backed regime change. That's the reason why you see images like these, and how there was even like a few Russian flags that are that were shown in like these Haitian protests. And they can tell people in other countries, they can clearly tell who are also the mutual enemies of the US empire. And you know that this action is certainly going to lead to Haitians being killed or injured at the hands of the United States. And this tweet right here is an important distinction. See, it's okay for the United States to invade Haiti because they are black, but Russia can't touch the precious white people of Ukraine. They are sacred. And this blue flag explains a lot. Blue eyes, blonde hair. They're being invaded, is what they told us about Ukraine. How can we afford to invade Haiti when all our money is going to the whiny Ukrainians? You know, Kelly, they'll always pull money out of their asses to support the war machine, the imperialist intervention. WCSN, I think strong women, Hillary Clinton, and honest charities, Clinton Foundation, fought back the minimum wages during the BBB of Haiti, including private donations. Hey, Uncle Warren, good to see you pop in. Extra Bula, currently the secret midnight shows that you'll get at least on Friday and Saturday nights um, at midnight Eastern, 10 p.m. Mountain Time, 9 p.m. Pacific, and 11 o'clock Central, and 1 a.m. Atlantic Time for this tiny few people in the United States and Canada who live in those time zones, in that Atlantic time zone. And this is the point I was making previously. Thanks to the Zeiss Squirrel for reinforcing it. The Western media and political class is clamoring for even more sanctions on Iran as they call for sending weapons and troops to Haiti to violently suppress protest. They do not see any contradiction in this because they are deprived imperialist scum. That right there is the fullest truth of it. And what they're saying to you is that there's a lot of danger and violence going on because they do not want you to think that this is a genuine uprising and rejection of their the US State Department's fight for democracy. They want you to think that these people in Haiti are under danger and horrific conditions, that the United States has to step in and help. But when you know what's being sent over there, you know that it's the furthest thing from the truth. And what's really being done is uh, trying to send the message to stop being ungrateful and let us do what we want to your country. In the words of Elon Musk, someone who's a major fence rider right now when it comes to this Ukraine-Russia proxy war, we will coup whoever we want and like it. And you know that makes the United States upset when countries come out and say they don't like it. They got upset with Cuba when they came out last year in support of their own government and how that would override the astroturfed SOS Cuba. And they are not going to like it when, and it's NATO included, when countries like France, Germany are coming out against their politicians deciding Ukrainians matter more than their own citizens. And Mick Wallace, one of the tiny handful of good politicians in the world when it comes to foreign policy.
The US and France prison has never stopped punishing Haiti for the crime of being the first black majority nation to successfully carry out an anti-colonial revolution when they kicked out the French in 1804. Since then, the US and France have colluded to kill at least 5 sitting presidents and engineered countless coups. The reversal of the Aristide coup by the Haitian people was met with crushing neoliberal reforms forced by the Clinton regime. A second coup against Aristide in 2004 by the French and Americans ushered in pro-West leadership that ensured no nation building would be carried out, no investment in infrastructure that might help Haiti prepare for earthquakes and the ravages of global warming. The successful defiance of the Haitian people has been met with 200 years of imperialists attempting to keep them on their knees and then shedding crocodile tears at the resulting instability. I'd like to know what right have we got to be interfering in this sovereign nation? Prison has never stopped punishing Haiti.
I can see that's one of only like 3 world politicians that I know of who can nail the criticisms of the U.S. empire like in the way that Mick Wallace just did in that little near 2-minute clip right there. The woman next to him is another one who is on point when it comes to foreign policy, and that's Claire Daly of Ireland, the country which holds most of my nationality, as proven by my DNA test a few years ago. And let's see if this is anything relevant to this segment from Kasachun News, a good Global South outlet.
The second resolution we're working on would authorize a non-UN international security assistance mission to help improve the security situation and enable the flow of desperately needed humanitarian aid. This reflects one of the options that the Secretary General recommended the Security Council consider. This is also a direct response to Prime Minister Henri's and the Haitian Council of Ministers' request for international assistance to help restore security and alleviate the humanitarian crisis.
Their trump card is bombing their own nuclear plant. I see the Ukrainians warning the entire region as a worldwide fuck you to the Russians and an even bigger immigration to the EU. Yes, I can see that as a possibility. Kelly, you'd think we'd really care about the Haitian people. We would help them after their many devastating natural disasters, not impress and invade them. Don't forget the fact when they try to come here for a place to stay, the current president won't let them. They get kicked out. The deporter the new deporter in chief, Joe Biden, that is. And what this little clip told me is pretty much the way that the United States has intervened to worsen the conditions of Haiti, especially after the CIA being involved in the assassination of their president last year. Uh, that name is escaping me a bit at the moment, but I think. Oh, Jovenel Moise was the president assassinated last year, as I forgot that name for a moment. And it was very much believed that the CIA was the ones backing it. Oh, but back as we continue on, as this is a bit related here, as Jamu Baraka ties what that French uprising is. The ruling classes must be clear about the opposition to the NATO war in Ukraine and the commitment by Western imperialism to use force to maintain its global hegemony. Let's connect these actions now to the mass demonstrations for democracy in Haiti. And when you fight the democracy that is in Haiti, and the United States says it's doing it themselves, and it really comes out as fascism. A very, very familiar theme. So, as I looked at this Mint Press News tweet, there were a lot of people trying to discard this protest yesterday as being related to the climate, rising cost of living, and not having anything to do with the Ukraine war and NATO. When anyone who is not going, who is being an honest, providing honest coverage of what's going on and going beyond 2D chess is going to show you that those issues and the proxy war are all very interconnected. And the people in Europe are feeling that pain more so at this very time than the United States. And this is another little clip pretty much saying that China has taken note of the immediate opposition from some political parties and groups to the presence of a foreign armed force in Haiti at a time when the Haitian government lacks legitimacy. And that right there is a perfect storm for the United States to step in and continue to fuck up the conditions of the country of Haiti. A very, very problematic scenario for them. And there was bad moments, though. I know that it was either China and Russia stood neutral in like Libya or Syria, and at least in this moment, they're saying a bit of the right thing. And I know that Glory Jones, someone who I had on the show nearly 5 months ago, by the way, friend of the show, Frank Analysis linked an interview he had with Glory on Haiti. And that would also be a good thing to check out in addition, because I know that Glory is going to be able to go in more in depth compared to what you'll get here, even though I'm doing the best I can on the fly here. And that's the red flag right there. From that original clip is having a black woman asking for a foreign invasion of Haiti. Just like in the way that KJP will, the Secretary Press Speaker, Karine Jean-Pierre, will eventually be manufacturing consent for the U.S. getting involved in Haiti in the upcoming days. And you know why they do this? Instead of having some white person do it, it's because it'll make things more palatable for liberals who still haven't seen how empty the use of identity politics is by the Democratic Party. Instead of the identity politics being used to help push for real equality and equity and level out the playing field and elevating the conditions of people as a whole, they're doing it just as a way to maintain the status quo. And this is a thing that liberals and some of the progressives absolutely don't get, is the fact that a lesser of two evils vote that you try to rationalize people into making here is still hell for Palestinians. It would still be hell for Syrians, Afghanis, Libyans, Cubans, Venezuelans, Chileans, Nicaraguans. That's how little difference that vote matters in terms of foreign policy. But yet, as I highlighted last night with the Savage Joy Marie tweet on healthcare, they still think it's possible to make the better domestic policy happen while just letting things continue to get worse and worse when it comes to U.S. foreign policy. Slowly starting to pick up, Jake. And it's starting with the big channels like Revolutionary Blackout Network, someone like Dan Cohen, who has been doing a lot of coverage in relation to Haiti, who I will be highlighting some of his work shortly, and also smaller channels like mine. Once again, this is where the hypocrisy of liberals never ceases to amaze me, because the liberals aren't putting Haiti flags in their bios. That's a major distinction right there. Instead, they've only got the Ukraine flag, which they haven't ditched. They never put the flag for Palestinian, which is eerily ironic, because you'd think that the Ukraine flag accounts, more of them that is, would have Israel flags accompanying those. Michael Tanuvasa says, pretty sure Haitian doesn't want the guy who said no one would care if Haiti sunk into the ocean to send support from America. If you can remember, it was a good 25, 30 years ago or so that Joe Biden was on camera saying that no one would care if Haiti sunk into the ocean. Now, here's one of the other uh, strong foreign policy politicians we have in the world, Claire Daly. Let's see what she said.
The first place in Haiti is the site of the first and only successful slave revolution in history. Haitians won their independence from France in 1804 and immediately abolished slavery, becoming the first place in the world to do so. It was also the first state to outlaw racism in its constitution. Haiti was a beacon of light for the world, and it was punished for it. It was punished over and over again by France, by the US, through a series of coups, invasions, occupations, assassinations, through relentless meddling and crushing debt. They were determined that this beacon of freedom would be extinguished because it presented a bold challenge to the dread logic of capital and empire. But the Haitian people kept fighting through. Theirs is a light that never goes out. And so, it's still being punished. The meddling goes on. If Haiti is a mess, and it is, then Europe and the US are to blame. If we want to support the Haitian people, and we should, we'll stand up to the US, the world's bully, tell them to get out of Haiti and get out of it ourselves. Haiti is the site of the first and only.
And they both know the truth of what's going on there. The United States doesn't like countries that try to rise up and be self-sustainable and sufficient in a way that goes against capitalism. I mean, we've gone into the examples in the past with Cuba, Venezuela, and several other countries in the global south who try to thrive in opposition of capitalism and rejecting the U.S. State Department's push for democracy. Oh, Claire Daly is a Irish politician. As for Mick Wallace, he is also Irish, by the way. Then the only other politician, Angelo Sanchez of, I believe, he's in Spain. One of the only other politicians who's made a rightful assessment of the Russia-Ukraine proxy war. I would have to find more clips of Angelo Sanchez to see what he says on other things, even though we know that the UK party suspended him for the Labour Party suspended him for those statements. But let's go through some of the recent tweets from Dan Cohen, someone who has been covering Haiti closely. And there's Dan Cohen, a journalist and filmmaker who has been working on a big documentary in relation to Haiti, as he also had a little Substack article that I believe came out earlier today. But let's go back to this from a CNN, trying to manufacture consent for the U.S. intervention. Rape has become a weapon for Haiti gains, says United Nations. Then someone like Dan, who can actually say the real truth here. and other headlines from corporate media contradicting that point. More than 100 UN peacekeepers ran a child sex ring in Haiti. None were ever jailed. And that came from the Associated Press, the Associated Propaganda nowadays. Haitian women raped by UN Chilean peacekeepers seek justice. 2 Pakistani UN soldiers jailed for raping Haitian boy. Why do some peacekeepers rape? The full report. And this is also a recent smear uh, that they've just tried to bust out on Russia. But it's not working because, once again, independent journalists can point out the other side of it where Ukrainian military has been doing raping. The US and UN are trotting out the same old tropes to justify a humanitarian invasion of Haiti. The neo-colonial powers seeking to maintain their grip on Haiti are the real criminals. Don't fall for the lies. Hands off Haiti. Yeah, that there is true. Just like the way that the United States places drug lords in their country in order to make the conditions more dangerous, in order to make the people actually advocate for the U.S. intervention and regime change. And you know that the United States is going to do their part to make things worse enough to try to get the people to change their minds on coming out against them. See, is there anything? Yes, this is the main point here that 3 weeks ago, Dan Cohen was ahead on this, saying that the military intervention in Haiti is imminent. U.S. will now support multinational rapid action force to Haiti. And another key country who's involved in this, by the way, is Canada, as Justin Trudeau has pushed the same State Department talking points that you would hear from the United States. Yes, if there's another layer to this, Kelly, that she just pointed out. So this whole thing about them rebelling, or do they have natural resources that we can exploit? And I'm sure that part is true with natural resources. The first layer is they don't like countries who stand up for themselves and don't accept what's coming to them. Let me go over like a few paragraphs from the recent article that Dan put up on Substack. And let's sparse out a few of the key paragraphs. So, I think, yes, the U.S. and its junior partners have been trying to tell you that this unrest is due to gangs, which we know that isn't true. That it's actual people just trying to reject the United States. If you look at the protests that are taking place as a result of the end of fuel subsidies, they are financed by economic actors. National Security Council Director Juan Gonzalez commentated. And this is the thing that they always try to do to the genuine side of a protest. They did it with Cuba last year too. They try to blatantly lie to you and tell you that what took place in Cuba was also them trying to come out against their so-called quote-unquote dictator president. And their plan is to try to get 20,000, 25,000 troops over there. But I thought that there was another pretty damning quote here from Juan Gonzalez. Also, Mint Press has some good content in relation to this as well. Here goes. Lost track of that. Yes, France, Brazil, and Canada are supposedly supposed to be among the countries backing this invasion. And I suppose that Brazil won. We'll see if there's any change to that. That would be very dependent on whether Lula could beat Bolsonaro towards the end of the month or so in the runoff election. Oh, here it is. I also think just leaving it up to Haitians to solve their problems is a line that I think ignores a really, really concerning and deteriorating situation inside the country. Pretty much a bullshit justification that gets pushed in order to get you fear-mongered into worse things would happen if we didn't try to get involved. And that there's a new act being pushed through with a recent act called the Global Fragility Act has created framework for U.S. intervention. The act aims to strengthen U.S. control of so-called fragile states as part of the 2017 National Security Strategy focused on great power competition. It is a joint State Department, USAID, and Department of Defense program that would direct the U.S. military to play a critical role in facilitating basic public order and build the capacity of foreign security forces. So that is essentially pushing a fascist force to keep the people in line, keep them in a place of poverty and trying to ensure that the fine people of Haiti do not get to have self-determination of what goes on in their country, which is what the assassination last year opened up the door for. the United States to step in and make conditions worse for those people. And we know that this is soon going to get very, very ugly over there. And what could really be useful for them would be a recovery-based program. But that's not how the US version of democracy works. It works as a fascistic military force, which is very much like the police state that exists here, which I'm about to cover some recent no good doings of the police state. So let's start off with the recent police near killing that took place recently in San Antonio. So Eric Cantu is a 17-year-old, I believe, as well, who got shot by police and just sitting in a parking lot trying to eat some late night McDonald's. I'm trying to scroll down to I'm just going to switch to video. And this is what happened. I'm not going to...
Shot fired! Shot fired! Shot fired!
That right there is absolutely sickening to me. And this is supposedly a very new cop to the police force. And it's clear to me this is a major problem with the police state. They are always ready to shoot and do damage control later. Because why did he not comply? That was barely 1.5 seconds to make a response. Tell me what type of person can make a reasonable response to police demands in 1.5 seconds. Because I could tell you that certain people get more latitude to put themselves in a more compliant position. And the thing is, Kelly, that cheese wrapper sure looked like a gun to me. When you're a trigger-happy coward who is taught to be impulsive with the trigger, then everything could potentially look like a gun or some type of weapon that you fear could be pulled out against you. And if you're going to get shot at within that quick of time, That is not an unreasonable reaction to close your car door and try to do what you can to protect yourself. And we know that some uh, back the blue bootlickers would absolutely try to make that argument. And this is a point that we got to go down the well of very often here. This is why you can't reform the police. Because they are trained to kill. They're not trained to de-escalate. If you want something based in de-escalation and reconciliation and actual potential public safety, then abolishment's the only way to go. That's the sad part about this WCSN. I'll take the number 4 Glock meal with extra cheese on the Glock, and that'll be all. Thank you. And yes, because the Diet Coke makes the bullets that much more palatable to fire. And last week there were, I believe, 2 charges of aggravated assault on the officer in the shooting, which, by the way, is not good enough at this time, but it's also supposedly supposed to escalate to a greater offense, especially for now this officer did get fired. But when I say this, you gotta keep in mind that it's because when these shootings get blown up on social media and the news, it's much easier now for the police to maintain their illusion of the police as it is now, if they're more willing to sacrifice police in the process. So let's get into an update, which is the latest that's being said on Eric Cantu is this. The bullets brutally tore through his stomach, liver, diaphragm, lungs, and arms. Bullets from the 2 rounds grazed him deeply on other places of his body. While James Bernard, that by the way is the name of the cop who impulsively shot someone in an unreasonable manner, still living his life for now. Eric's currently fighting for his. And based on the way that's described, that's someone who could still die soon. It may not be an actual killing at the moment, but that is what I would call under the category of a more slow and painful death. That cop should pay 100% of his medical expenses and never be allowed to own a firearm for the rest of his life. Yes, that would be a good idea. I would just believe that more of the police force should have to repent for his sins, not just that cop. And anyone, especially anyone who co-conspires in trying to make sure that to protect him that officer from getting a worse punishment. And even though I haven't really, there's a lot of people who are riding the wave of Kanye news, especially since he had recently said that knee wasn't as bad as it looked. I guess he supposedly also saying that it was an overdose. Definitely not crazy turn that has taken, but I don't need that to build my content. No, this is absolutely the wrong takeaway from this random Twitter bot. MAGA Republicans support police brutality, but only when they shoot black and brown children. Pleading for Eric Cantu, vote blue. Vote blue 2022. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And it's not a real important basis of coverage at the moment here, especially at the rate that I do stuff. But the big problem with that is, yeah, Joe Biden once had 100,000 more cops. You don't think that's part of the problem of why police are being trained to impulsively kill? Is it, would Democrats give those police better conditions to improve policing? We've seen how much time and time again that reform has been a failure, and all the bullshit milquetoast reforms that Democrats have thrown their way have also been ones that the police can easily, conveniently ignore or use as an example to not be public. But there was another high-profile shooting that took place in Mississippi, and that one's honestly getting even less attention than the Eric Cantu. And this was the shooting in Mississippi of Jaheim McMillan. So let me update the top tweets here. See the quick little footage here. Police shoot another teenager as he was coming out from a Family Dollar that he regularly shops at. And I think I should get the audio on and start over.
You fucking piece of shit! I got y'all, dude. You're a fucking piece of shit! That's a motherfucker! That's a motherfucking piece of shit! Pass it, Bob. That young man said, run this
Really damning that someone just got shot for just trying to walk out of a Family Dollar that they were trying to get some stuff from. And the fact that from the yes, that right there, exactly it. Uncle Warren, someone who also uh, grew up in Mississippi, by the way. So I know that this also has a connection to Uncle Warren. And the fact that you've got police who could just fucking decide to shoot, whether the response to comply is done in reasonable amount of time or not. That does not matter. And another murder at the place by the state. And this time it was 15-year-old Jahi McMillan, and this is Olayemi Olurin, one of the big accounts who brought attention to this. So let's watch a bit of this video.
Keeping the messages suppressed. I hate to come here and tell you what happened to a 15-year-old Black boy named Jaheim McMillan on October 6th, but I have to, because not only is it shameful the way that the police in this country treats Black people, but the way that the media and social media are co-conspirators in keeping the messages suppressed, because this child was not only killed on October 6th by Mississippi police, but since then, all the eyewitnesses, his mother, his sister, his family members have had their Facebook accounts restricted so that they can't tell the story. But on October 6th, Jaheim McMillan, a 15-year-old, went to his Family Dollar down the block from his own house. He walked out. Multiple eyewitnesses have said this. He walked out of the Family Dollar with his hands up when he saw the police. Hands up, nothing in his hands. And they shot that 15-year-old boy in the head and left his body there and handcuffed him. And then when his mother came to the scene, they tried to handcuff his own mother. They shot that child 8 times. 8 times they shot that child. And then when he was put on life support, his mother says that he was removed off of life support without his mother's permission. They shot and killed the child, and they took him off of life support. And now they're saying that he was armed, despite the fact that multiple eyewitnesses says he was not. Now, conveniently, the Family Dollar that had video footage, had video security footage of what happened, it's gone. Conveniently, just erased. And they haven't released out the body-worn camera footage, and they seem to be refusing to. I just want to give you a warning before this rolls into the next video clip of his mother crying, because you need to understand for context, not only does this woman have to bury her 15-year-old son, but you need to understand that they killed him so close to her house, she was able to run down the street where her son was still dead on the floor and handcuffed.
The emotion that poured out. It's getting a bit stuck. Gulfport is on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. I used to live there at one time. My sister lives down there, and she said the cops are buck wild. An absolute non-surprise, I should say. Usually doesn't happen to get stuck like that. Oh. Apparently this is a Gulfport Police Department doesn't have body cam. Another one of those reforms that we know doesn't work out as well as they say it does. And this department doesn't have it. And it's absolutely sickening that we have to see these stories constantly continue to come up in the United States like this. Yes, Uncle Warren, Mississippi cops are pretty bad, corrupt as fuck too. Although we could pretty much say that about everywhere, but it's always the department of the moment. And this Gulfport and San Antonio are two of the ones that are standing out. And it goes to show you that there's still this idea of how much that liberals and some of the progressives like the way they don't take foreign policy seriously enough. They don't take the police state seriously enough either. In North Mississippi, anyway, if you get pulled over and you have weed, they don't arrest you. They take your weed and either smoke it themselves or sell it. That honestly reminds me of Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle when Harold was in jail for a bit. Then when Kumar gets him free, they take the weed back for themselves. But fortunately, they were smart enough to put the weed on their enemies. That way, they were the ones who ended up back in jail. But when you look through the professional managerial class, notice the amount of silence that they've had on two recent high-profile shootings. Take a look at what they're talking about. They're the ones still caught up in the semantics of trying to tell you Russia invaded Ukraine. They're still trying to do cartwheels and handstands for fucking John Fetterman. They're deep in the obsession of Kanye West, Donald Trump. They're not talking about the police state right now. And I'll show you another example of what they're not really talking about right now. And this police state shit extends beyond the brutality of killing specifically black and brown people at an average of 3 a day, where if we had any type of standards, we would have rejected it once it got above 0.1% or 0.1 people per day. Fortunately, they ain't the sharpest knives in the drawer. Pretty easy to get out of it, but fortunately it helps to be white, pretty much. Pretty much, Uncle Warren. But there's... If you're not moved by seeing the thugs in blue use be on their motherfucking power trip and their overuse of power, maybe this will move you a bit more. So this is what happened last night. So I know that there's some pro-union right wingers, especially when they're working at places which have actual unions or fighting for unionization. Look what happened in Boston last night. Update: Police in Boston are arresting striking workers at Cisco, the world's largest food distributor. Local outlet WCVB reports massive law enforcement presence and multiple people being loaded in the back of a police van. So let me pull that back to the beginning.
Hold that line! Close those doors. Sidekick. Sidekick. I got the list right here.
So I hope these pro-union people can start to make the connection here. That these aren't just a bad apple in the bunch. That this is actually the way the police state is designed to function. Yes, that right there is very true, Uncle Warren. At this point, you have to be a really awful human being to be a cop. Or you have to be really, really naive. Because there's still going to be a small percentage of people who still believe they can change that shit from the inside. When the truth is, when you try to have a moral compass and you use it against your police force, then that's the moment when your career in law enforcement becomes on life support. And the reason why it's important to make this connection is the police are the first line of defense to protect against capitalism. And yes, so another one of the great big lies, Warren, is the fraud squad, that is, convincing you we can change them from the inside. And when you try to yell at them for funding Nazis in Ukraine, and they don't want the smoke, and they'll make up shit like it's not the right time, and bring up some other shield about how rude you are. That's what my proctologist told me too. Because too many people aren't sympathetic enough to the multitude of ways that people could be negatively affected by the police state. On a basic level, you should at least be able to notice the problem with not having them sucking up funding for mental health and education, among a couple basic things in city budgets, because the police are being a drain on programs that could be used to lift people and improve their living conditions to where they'll be more safe and secure in their homes and not in a position to where they put themselves in danger or feel like they have to commit a crime to survive. That right there is the simple basis of the argument right there. But then also, the idea that we've let police come in that aren't from our communities and tell us how we should be policed when people of representative communities should be uh, trying to decide how to keep their communities safe, because the police state is going to be there to get in the way of workers trying to fight for better conditions in their workplaces. They'll be there to, when you try to take a stand against police murder and brutality. They'll be there when you try, if the fight for universal health care ever becomes as massive as it did back in the George Floyd protest. They'll be out there when you oppose the latest U.S. war. So the connections have to be made when it comes to the police state. They aren't just there. They have a way of putting a negative effect on everyone. And thinking that there's situations where they're okay to exist in its current force is very illogical and very, very inconsistent. There's really only one way to fight back against this, and that's advocating for its abolition. Because all the things that could be done to fix this won't be able to get done unless that happens. And people could see these 3 recent examples I've shown you, and they're still going to be the ones bitching and moaning about how the slogan still makes them uncomfortable. Do you think that the families of the Cantu family and the McMillan family would be more comfortable if they had their sons in better health and living? That's why I couldn't give a shit less about whether people are made uncomfortable or not. Because being well and alive is far more valuable to me, and a society where people get to have their basic material needs and conditions met and not be dependent, not get lied into why you have to be dependent on a police state to protect us, when the facts are just not true on that. Especially when they continuously say crime is going up, when they continuously add in more and more police, because they only solve 2% of crime and they prevent very little of it. So it's time for more people to see how problematic these things can be and stop believing this shit can be reformed, because it can't be. Now let's go on last segment of the night, and this will be on James Corden. And this will connect to the workers' theme of the last part of the police state. So, something recently happened to James. Yes, that's right. James Corden pretends to be the most bullshitty, two-faced Mr. Nice Guy on camera, but according to one restaurant owner, the dude's been incredibly nasty on more than one occasion while dining. Classic fake nice guy who punches down on workers. So, I think I'm going to go through that TMZ article for the references. So let's see. James Corden goes nuclear on waiter banned from famed NYC restaurant. James Corden might be Mr. Nice Guy. Oh yeah, I read that part of it. The Late Late Show host was in the crosshairs of restaurateur Keith McNally, who owns the highly acclaimed Balthazar in New York City, who went on the attack Monday on IG, calling JC a cretin of a man for what he claims was abhorrent behavior at his establishment. So let's go through the multiple reports. In June, James Corden was here on table 61. Although this is diabolical, it happens very occasionally in all restaurants. After eating the main course, Corden showed the hair to Balthazar manager G, who was very apologetic. Corden was extremely nasty to G, said, "Get us another round of drinks this second, and also take care of all of our drinks so far. This way I will write any nasty reviews in Yelp or anything like that." And this is the problem with the way that... Oh yeah, that text was a bit harder. With the entitlement of celebrities like this and the influence that they could have potentially on one restaurant, because they decide to flip out and lose their shit on a mistake that definitely happens more than you would think with the whole hair of food. And the way that that manager had the right approach in that situation. Yet, James Corden was power hungry to use that privilege. And the reason why it's important to point this out is because there's a lot of people who think they're going to be future celebrities, but they're struggling just like us. So when they hear about stories like this, they could get the wrong takeaway and think that they could pull a big timer move like James Corden did right here. But this is also punching down on workers is very antithetical to what we're trying to grow here. The second manager's report. James Corden was at Balthazar with his wife on October 9th for brunch. He asked for a table outside. He had the audacity to go back again? Brunch, Mater D. Ali Walters, took the party to table 301. Mr. Corden's wife ordered an egg yolk omelet with Gruyere cheese and salad. A few minutes after they received the food, James called their server, M.K., and told her there was a little bit of egg white mixed in with the egg yolk. M.K. informed the floor manager, G. The kitchen remade the dish, but ultimately sent it with home fries instead of salad. That's when James Corden began yelling like crazy to the server, "You can't do your job. You can't do your job. Maybe I should go in the kitchen and cook the omelet myself." MK was very apologetic and brought G over to the table. He returned the dish after that. Everything was fine. He gave them promo champagne glasses to smooth things out. G said Corden was very pleasant to him, but nasty to the server. MK was very shaken, but professional that she is, continued to finish her shift. This is a absolutely grotesque abuse of privilege and status that Corden has used right there. McNally alleges James was incredibly abusive to his staff on at least 2 occasions while eating there. So much so, in fact, that he felt compelled to out him publicly. Something that's almost never done by high-end restaurant owners. The guy details 2 alleged incidents in which James lost his cool to the point of absurdity. McNally claims James said, "Get us another round of drinks this second, and we'll take all of our drinks so far." Let's see. And the following of this is, he got banned from Balthazar. James, a big-time foodie, was apparently able to be appeased in the end, McNally claims, but he goes on to allege James has acted similarly with another restaurant of his as well in the city. We've reached out to James's camp for comments. So far, no word back. Just know that when you behave in the way that James Corden does, and that's like cop behavior of a capitalist, and why it's a frustrating thing, because when you're a person of the proletariat, the last people you should be flipping out over and losing your shit over is other fellow workers. Because some people are going to feel, as I said, the temporarily embarrassed future celebrity billionaire types are probably going to reach a point where they think that if they are a bit more careful, that they could pull this type of grift as well. But it's absolutely a very problematic way to act. And it's and for someone who got raised by a mom who spent many years of her life waiting tables, you have to have some serious audacity to go back to a place when you acted a fool previously. I've never watched James' show, but you need to be nice to the people who cook and bring your food. That's the problem. They don't think that way. They don't get how these people could fuck with your food in a worse way intentionally than they could by accident. That is very clear and true to me, Uncle Warren. Very elitist and ship livery. And he's also one of those late night hosts, even though he's about to leave the show he's on, who like manufacturing the corporate propaganda when it comes to politics. Kelly's also someone who's waited tables for a year. I know exactly what can happen if you're a dick. Exactly. You know, my mom would tell me all the time when she knew that someone wasn't a good customer, that the quality of your service drops. But when you're gracious, and appreciative, you you get better service and you get taken care of better. And what type of restaurant did you used to work at, Kelly? Craig Ferguson. You know, I don't really remember him outside of him being on the Drew Carey show. I never really got into him on late night. Even though for some of the younger crowd now, remembering the Drew Carey show is very dated, especially when at this point the Who's lines that include Drew Carey are reaching that dated point as well. But the main point of that segment was don't be a elitist dirtbag like James Corden and punch down on people. Interesting. He was light years better than Corden's, but that bar is low. So that'll be the end of coverage on the topics for tonight. Yes, very true. Drew Carey and Who's Line were 90s and early 2000s staples. That very much were a couple parts of it once I started to graduate cartoons more. Oh yeah, back to another point. Especially when the cartoons stopped, like the Nickelodeon and stuff, you'd stop seeing it at night. You needed to latch on to some other shows for later in the night. And Drew Carey and Who's Line were a couple examples of those for me. My favorite place to wait tables at was a Greek restaurant. The Greek brothers that owned it would smoke weed with all of us at the end of the day after. Oh, that's very nice because my mom was a waiter at a waitress at a restaurant that was also owned by Greeks too. Except it wasn't like a very Greek restaurant. There was hardly anything actually Greek in it. It had far more American and Tex-Mex elements to it. And the Greek owners of that restaurant sold, and it's now some Tex-Mex style buffet place now. Their sons still run restaurants that are essentially the same thing. They're called Sam's Number 3. I'm not sure if either of you, Kelly or WCSN, have heard of Sam's Number 3. I believe that it was featured on the Food Network. I can't remember if it was on that Guy Fieri's Diner show, but it did get. I have seen it featured a bit on like those type of television shows. So, yeah, that's it for tonight. Looking forward to the start of the NBA season, which, by the way, I believe that it will be the Nuggets championship season following back-to-back MVPs. Thanks so much, Warren. As I Flavor Town. Much love to y'all as well. So looking forward to the Nuggets championship season, as Nikola Jokic is going to follow in the footsteps of Giannis Antetokounmpo and follow up back-to-back MVPs with the NBA title. And if Warren ever gets into the Pelicans, that should be a very fun team this season. Even though I know that you're more focused on the Saints these days. Yes, much love to you, bro. You too as well, Kelly. Yes. You should, because they'll be healthy. And Zion's in better shape. So that should be a pretty fun team. And I wouldn't be surprised if they made their way into the top 4. But yeah, so with that being said, next couple days, I'll be on a little getaway, so that'll be good for me. And a little tomfoolery just happened on Dream On about. What do you mean, Kelly? It will be their year. Golden State will not be able to put it all together for a back-to-back. And something weird's going to happen to Boston and Brooklyn, to where they won't be able to put it all together enough either. But yeah, don't forget to like, share, subscribe if you're on the YouTube sides of things. Find a new place to spread out the channel. Thanks so much, as Uncle Warren has really been trying to do that. I also shout out to Les Bones as well, as he actually put the link into the Saturday night secret show. So shout out to Les Bones as well. Exactly, Warren. We know that it's a very diabolical recipe that's being formed. I'm sorry to WCSN, but that team is very weird to me. But very, very weird. Although I hope that Big Game Tave thrives there, and Thrill can be a nice ambassador for that team. Yes, I know that you would know, since Les does help produce your show. Even though you're old school, the Wizards are actually bringing the throwback of their original uniforms this year. But don't forget to click the link tree below and support me on other be supporting your favorite content creators on multiple platforms. Even if you're a big Rockfin person, which I hope to reach Rockfin one of these days, don't forget to still go to YouTube and like and share the streams. That way more people can be aware of them there as well. And I still fixed thing. Oh yeah, I fixed the Rumble. So I should start to get more videos flowing through on my Rumble channel as well. The nice thing about the YouTube being removed is that it helped me make it easier for me to sync it on Rumble. So it'd be helpful to get some more people to subscribe to me on Rumble too. I still wish that Nug Life had some sort of weed reference. Yes. Yes, I just barely did that, Warren. So that should all be squared away and fixed nicely. But Nug Life normally means that Denver Nuggets basketball don't go the way you like. But I believe the tides are going to change on that. If they got a healthy roster going in the playoffs, they're going to be very hard to beat. But with that being said, take this shit off the internet and bump it outside. This is Andrew Rochford saying goodbye and good night.